Refreshing the page.
Okay, I think we should be live at this point.
Should we all be doing a pose like OC?
No, what?
And we're live. Yes, we are.
Okay, sweet. Go for it.
We're good.
Sweet.
Hey y'all. Wait, is Chill Mango here yet?
She's just chilling.
She's slacking. Just kidding.
Awesome.
We do these for her.
So we are here talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League, which released on HBO Max this last Thursday. So basically, we're going to talk a little bit about our initial thoughts, maybe how we watched it, and we'll avoid spoilers for a little bit. And then once we start getting into spoiler discussion, we'll give a little bit of a warning beforehand. So, yeah, how did you guys? So basically, the way that I watched it, I was totally down to do a 4-hour, just like sit through it, but I ended up doing half of it on Thursday and then half of it on Friday. So how did you guys watch it?
I watched it in full. I feel like I'm the only one, right?
Also, I did that, yeah.
I did
Oh,
half
also
on
Short
Saturday.
intermission.
Also, we have Kyle with us joining us.
Hi, I'm Kyle.
Yeah, so both of you guys watched it 4 hours. What about the rest of you?
I try to watch it in full. Well, it's funny because like first I didn't expect to watch in full, but then I was really engaged to want to watch in full. But unfortunately, I had too much stuff to do. But it took me, I would say, it was mainly just Saturday, the afternoon Saturday, and then early this morning, I finished it. So
Nice.
yeah, but it was definitely an interesting experience. I definitely said watch at least 75% of it one day, and then 25 the final day. So different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, just watch each chapter like in full before stopping. Like they make it pretty easy for you to know when to take a break.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
Yeah. I did half and half as well. So half Saturday and half Sunday. And I feel like if I watched it in full, I would have, like, my brain just would have been like, this is a long ass movie.
Yeah, I really, I'm the type of person who I love like long epic movies and stories and stuff like that. A lot of my favorite movies are like over 3 hours long. So I wasn't necessarily one of those people who was against the runtime for this movie being 4 hours long, at least going into it. So I was excited for it, and I'm glad, honestly, because it was a good 4 hours. It was the type of 4 hours that it kind of just flies by, and you don't really
Yeah.
notice it.
I mean, after watching it split on Thursday night, Friday night, yeah, I think Thursday and Friday nights were when I watched it. And then yesterday, one of my friends was watching it and I just like watched it with them. Not really as like paying too much attention, but it was cool. It was basically like a second viewing, sort of.
Yeah, I definitely had a feeling of like I could watch this again. Like if I found
Yeah.
out that a local movie theater was playing it, I would probably be tempted to go and watch it in full
Yeah.
view.
I'm with you, OC. I like long movies. I can sit through them no problem. And I feel like for this one, as long as it didn't feel that long. I feel like there wasn't really a lot of moments with downtime anyways. And usually I'd be annoyed by that. Sometimes I like when there's like a little bit of downtime, but I don't know, something that this movie I thought did a good job of is just kind of making it feel not that long because there was like a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
So
when do you guys want to get into the non-spoiler review section?
well, we can go into it now. As far as what were your initial just general thoughts on this
Well, I think we
version
should talk
of
about
Justice
like
League?
our thoughts going into this, right? Because I feel like expectations do sort of influence how we view
True.
the movie. And for me personally, when I heard about it, my friends were like, "Oh, they sent me links and stuff." I was like, "Seriously, they're doing this? Like, why?"
Yeah.
But so I came into it with no expectations. Like I didn't care about it. I know a lot of people were hyping it up, but I personally didn't care about it because I thought the original movie was like okay. It's like whatever, it's very forgettable. But after watching this one, I feel like it lived up to some of the excitement and hype for sure. At least some of the
Nice.
scenes for sure. I loved a lot of the scenes with Flash.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
We'll
why
get
he's
into
my
that.
background.
We'll get into that in the spoilers.
yeah, we'll get spoilers. But go with Scott. Yeah, I agree with him. I felt the same way. I kind of didn't see the point of it. I mean, I guess it wasn't the end because it was like it was horrible. Then it's like, well, we already have a R8 one, right? But if it's good, it's like benefits. But yeah, I was like surprised. Like I said, I was kind of I didn't expect me to want to watch this whole thing for 4 hours, but it just the way the movie felt, it made sense. It worked, and yeah, I'm really it made me hyped to see more. So it's like that's all I can
Yeah.
say.
I also, like Scott, came in with no expectations because the last DC movie that I was kind of excited for was Batman v Superman. And
No.
I was burned. So I was like, going into it, I was like, this is gonna also be bad, to be honest. I was like a little pessimistic because usually when I do that, I end up at least enjoying myself a little because I'm like, oh, that wasn't that bad. And I think that's what happened to me this time because I went into it like really anxious about like, oh, is this just gonna be like more material for people to clown on DC for? But I was like really pleasantly surprised, and like even with all its flaws, I take it and I'll like defend the Snyder cut because I enjoyed it. And I think the pacing was better this time because like the Justice League, or like the Joss Whedon version of the Justice League, to
Mhm.
me the pacing was off because it just flew by, and I also
Mhm.
blocked it out because I hated it. So I like didn't remember anything about it. So watching this 4 hour movie that was like, a little more evenly paced, it just made sense, and it was enjoyable to watch the whole way through for me, I think.
Yeah, in sort of counter to that, I was one who I liked the Joss Whedon Justice League when I saw
What?
it. Well, yeah, I liked it. I think I talked to some of you guys about it, but
Yeah.
I liked the Joss Whedon Justice League when it came out because for me it was better than Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, it was
Ah,
definitely.
okay.
Definitely, I agree.
I see where the benchmark is now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's exactly the reason. It was better than Batman v Superman, and so for that reason, I think Batman vs Superman made my expectations so low that the Joss Whedon Justice League was like, oh, okay, it had some great moments. Overall, it was kind of
You're so
like
forgiving.
weird, but I mean, it is what it is. But honestly, now it's so weird because I think that it's so oddly enough with Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and now this Zack Snyder's Justice League, they all feel like one continuous story. And the thing
Mhm.
that Zack Snyder does about he starts his movies where the last one ends. So Batman vs Superman starts with the destruction of Metropolis. That's exactly where Man of Steel ended. And then this Zack Snyder Justice League starts at the death of Superman, which is exactly where Batman vs Superman ends.
Spoilers.
Not spoilers. it's
I guess
it's
not.
if you've seen Batman vs Superman, it's spoilers for Batman vs Superman. Superman dies. um, but yeah, it starts exactly where the previous movie left off. It almost feels like it would be
A
interesting
continuation.
to like, yeah, it's a continuous story of like you can watch this from beginning to end. And oddly enough, like stay with me here, oddly enough, it makes Batman v Superman a better movie in my opinion. And I don't want to get too much into the spoiler territory yet, but the character arc of Batman connected to his, and I told you guys that I watched Batman vs Superman last month, just as like a preparation for this. It was, and I think that Batman's character arc in this version of the movie, it fits with where his character was in Batman vs Superman. So it almost makes that movie a little bit better, knowing where his character ends up here.
Okay.
And
I
Yeah.
agree with that because that
It
was Zack Snyder's vision from the beginning, is to kind of have like Return of the Dark Knight kind of like really dark Batman kind of get reined in by like Superman's goodness and all that, which is like
Right.
something that like Joss Whedon
It
erased in
it
his
tries
Justice League.
it tries to pay off what was set up in Batman versus Superman as to make it a movie that wasn't completely wasted. Like
Exactly.
which just to read a comment, let's see. My new favorite DC EU film is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Anime 2021 said I liked the theatrical version of Justice League, but Snyder's cut was a big improvement. Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's the general consensus amongst everyone, but we don't know that yet. There's people who have not expressed their
I agree with
opinions here.
anime. I think the Snyder cut is probably like my favorite of the bunch now.
Of the DCEU, yeah.
Yeah.
Same here.
DCEU does not include like Nolan's Batman films.
No,
just saying.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
No.
So
But for
so
me, it's my
that's-
second
yeah.
favorite. I will leave it
After Man of Steel.
after Man of Steel. Yeah.
Okay. I still love Man of Steel too, and I don't know if I enjoy some of the other ones, but Snyder Cut does kind of change the perspective on the other things. So I think I will return to the other movies and see like if anything changed with how I feel about them and how I think about them. But I wouldn't have that opportunity to want to go back if it wasn't for Snyder Cut. So I want to give credit where credit is due to Zack Snyder for
Yeah.
bringing this
Yeah.
project to light.
I mean, the purpose of a non-spoiler review is to give you an indication of whether or not you should watch it. I'd say definitely check it out because it's if you watched the original movie and didn't like it, you definitely have to check it out. If you thought it was good, then it will be even better.
Yeah.
I think also if you're like a fan of DC, I want to say this movie was made for the fans. It's really indulgent. I think it's important to say that Zack Snyder is like a huge nerd and that he like didn't compromise anything for his vision for this movie. And he really does it for the fans, and I appreciate it going into it as someone who was like exposed to superhero media through the DC animated like films and TV shows. This was for me kind of, I don't know, really it confirmed like my love for superheroes because I finally got to see, some of my favorite characters on the big screen. Even though it wasn't a perfect film, I'll take it,
Yeah.
I'll take it with its flaws.
Yeah, to further what Crystal said, yeah, this is like if you're a DC fan, you're really gonna love this film. Because to me, at some moments, it kind of felt like I was watching like a live action of the animated film, especially with the quality and the fight scenes and like even the darkness in general. So yeah, I definitely agree with it. And then even the cinematography in certain moments, it's just it's I think it's a beautiful art masterpiece. And if you're a DC fan, you must watch this.
Yeah, it's a love letter to DC fans from Zack Snyder, and he's putting all the stuff that he loves about DC into it.
I think it's like redemption from the other Justice League movie. I did enjoy it. I did go in with zero expectations because of how badly I did not enjoy the last Justice League movie. So to me, like, I think it's worth the watch.
The Justice League movie.
Even though it's 4 hours, but it is like 4 hours of like storytelling. It isn't fluff and whatnot. I mean, granted, there's some, but not too much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also am not like the biggest fan of DC stuff generally, but I did enjoy this. I had like zero expectations going in because I haven't even seen the original Justice League movie.
Oh, okay.
Along
with like, actually, I guess while I'm on the topic, I've only seen 2 DC movies, and it was both of the Wonder Woman movies.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't seen Batman versus Superman or Man of Steel or really anything that came before. I tried watching Aquaman one time, and I just
man, that's the worst one to pick out of the ones to try.
I liked Aquaman,
but I was really surprised.
Yeah.
It's all right. It wasn't too bad, but
that's good.
I was just gonna say that I was pleasantly surprised by this Justice League movie and how I immediately was kind of hooked, even from the beginning, like not really having the full context of like how this is continuing directly after the events of
so
Batman
that
versus
was
Superman.
a spoiler. That was a
So
spoiler.
even that was like one. I think I knew that despite having not watched the movie, just from like hearing about it, but seeing it start that way and then directly get into the events of this movie was pretty cool, and it did have a very comic booky kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So I mean, even despite not being a huge fan, I did mostly enjoy it. I did think, like what Crystal said, that it had good pacing. And yeah, I thought it was worth a watch, even
Yeah. I mean,
whether you're a fan or not. I
it's
think
good to
worth
know
a
the
watch.
perspectives because, like, me, like, I think the majority of us are DC fans, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I'm a
Yeah.
big DC fan. Like,
I'm a
I'm
big DC fan.
Yeah. Me
Neutral.
too.
Neutral.
I think
It
if
could go
I think
either way.
I think if you're really into the cartoons or you grew up watching the cartoons, it's just I mean, it's no question. Those cartoons are so good that they last with you from like a young age. And then when you're older, you're like, oh, like I'm gonna watch Young Justice or I'm gonna watch all the animated films. And it's, there's no way to not be a fan because those stories are so good.
They are.
And
Yeah,
they're so well made. Because and also, I mean, I would say the like Bruce Timm extended animated universe, which is like all the way from like the Superman animated series, Batman animated series, Justice League, and Static Shock and Batman Beyond. Like that, I feel like is the blueprint for like a lot of these like film extended universes with superheroes.
It
because
should
that
be,
was
at the very least.
I mean, I think it was an influence on everyone because it was like such a huge like cartoon and it had like a huge presence in the superhero fan community and the comic community. So that's why I think a lot of fans were really desperate for, a good cinematic experience for DC finally. And I mean, aside from that, generally speaking, I think it's good for like these studios to give directors more creative control because I mean, when they kind of like keep things hands off, that's when artists can kind of do their best work. Like Christopher Nolan, he has enough notoriety now where he can like do whatever he wants in his films and they're all really good. And I feel like the way they went about with, how Zack Snyder was like going to do the Justice League and then he didn't because of some family trauma and stuff. I think it was kind of, I don't know. I'm really glad that they gave him this opportunity for like a bunch of different reasons,
Yeah. So I suppose we can begin to transition into the spoilery discussion. So if you don't want spoilers, go ahead and save this video, give it a like, and come back to it later when you've watched it. So yeah, let's get into it. One of the big things that this movie showed me is how I don't want to say incompetent.
just say it. Just say it.
I mean, you just did.
Joss Whedon, and I know that people love him for
Avengers?
the first Avengers. Was it the
Buffy.
second Avengers as well?
Yeah, you did second Avengers.
Well,
as
a lot
well.
of people actually bashed him for the second Avengers.
Really? Oh, yeah. There's some jokes. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, a lot of people, at least for the first Avengers, they love him as like the guy. But honestly, when you see like, and this might be interesting for you, Kyle, if you want to go and watch his version of it, which is only 2 hours long. Just the decisions of what he decided to cut out and then what he decided to reshoot for his own movie.
Oh my God.
And he just like, I don't understand why he did or he had to do what he did.
He butchered the original movie. He butchered the spirit of the original movie, I feel.
Truly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sad. Like for the villain finally had like a stronger motive because like the
Yeah.
original one, he just seemed like he just wanted the mother boxes, but now it's like okay, he works for Darkseid. You don't want to
Yeah.
screw up with Darkseid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Anime 2021 mentioned
Yeah.
that. It's like cutting Darkseid out was a huge mistake. It for sure was.
Yeah, it gave it more of a motive. So it's like I'm
Like-
I'm just shocked. Why would he even do that? It's
Yeah.
If you do the
Not-
comparison, right? Steppenwolf is laughable in the 2017 version
Yeah.
compared to like now where
Yeah.
you can actually feel something for him at least, like understand him a little bit.
And that's not just in the story too. Like Steppenwolf, like physically looks totally different in the Snyder cut. He has like really dynamic armor, which is pretty cool. It moves when he moves, and it's like very like sci-fi looking, which is great.
Yeah.
And I mean, Zack Snyder wanted to put that in to make him not as generic, which is like in Joss Whedon's version, he was generic. He was a generic like evil villain who like
Yeah.
looked not great. Like he looked pretty ugly. So I'm just like,
They
I
like
don't know.
made him look more human like after Zack Snyder left because they thought that that would help the movie.
I mean, we
It's
get
like-
to understand his motive as well on why he's trying to get all the mother boxes and whatnot. So I think that gives us a little bit of empathy towards like his cause,
Yeah.
or just understanding towards his cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, also just having Darkseid in there just makes the movie that much cooler because Darkseid, whether you've heard of him or not, he's just such an imposing like figure, and just seeing him kind of like brings fear, and it's like, oh, like this dude's like a heavy hitter. You just like get that from the Snyder cut.
Dude, when at the end of the movie when Darkseid is like, "We'll do this the old way," I got chills. I was like, "Let's go."
And that
Oh my
Are we
kinda-
ever gonna see that though?
I don't know.
Could we talk about the cameos? I'm sorry, but there's just too many cameos that I was like, oh my god, that's Mother
Granny Goodness.
Granny Goodness, my bad.
Yeah.
Granny Goodness. That's Green Lantern. That's like there's just so much DC cameos here that I was just like, I couldn't stop being excited and like
Yeah.
this is one movie.
They had more than one, like Green Lantern. They had like Kilowog. They had some other ones, and it
Or at
was
least
just
his
nice to
race.
see. Yeah, it was nice to see that Zack Snyder cared about the fans, and like everyone loves a cameo. It's like might as well keep that stuff in. Like really, like why would you cut that out? And I feel like some of Joss Whedon's creative choices were because like he didn't trust the audience to be interested in DC lore. Like he didn't trust anyone to be interested in Darkseid or anything having to do with Apocalypse. And he wanted to hold everyone's hand and be like, this is why Justice League is cool. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to make it cool for you guys by making it like Marvel and putting in stuff
Yo.
that I like.
You
And
know-
that and that just like pisses me off thinking about how much we lost because of that. And seeing Snyder Cut now, I'm like actually angry about Justice League.
It's weird. You know what this is? Freaking Marvel literally sabotaged DC.
Oh god, of
They
course.
literally
It's an
sabotaged
inside job.
Conspiracy theories. Here we go.
They're like, we know Joss Whedon is gonna get tapped. He just needs to go in and mess it up. Oh man. But yeah.
By the way, Anime 2021 said he heard the studio had Darkseid cut out because they feared the story would be too complex.
I hate that.
So in other words, we don't want a good movie.
Yeah, I hate when directors like just don't trust the audience to be able to figure things out, or just don't give the audience enough credit to be interested in complex stories. Like,
And then there's also
annoying.
like, I don't know how much you guys have heard of this, but there are also some people who are complaining as along the lines of what we've been talking about as far as what Joss Whedon cut out and what was originally supposed to be in there. A lot of people are complaining about how there seems to be a trend with the characters and moments that essentially got short shrift in Joss Whedon's version versus Zack Snyder's version. So a lot of the motivations of and the moments of the female characters in this movie were cut out in Joss Whedon's version, and especially the character of Cyborg, who
Yeah.
is
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's my
one of
biggest
the-
gripe.
Cyborg was like a
biggest-
side character.
yeah, he's
I-
a side character in Joss Whedon's version, but he's like basically the main character.
Yeah.
I
in
think
this
he's like
version.
I
he's
think they're
almost the
all-
star of the film.
Yeah.
No, Cyborg literally his whole arc is played out beautifully in the Snyder Cut, first of all.
Yeah.
But his whole relationship with his father, his whole just how he came to be, how he became Cyborg is intertwined with the mother boxes and the story with Darkseid. And like I guess that's how it was in the comics. Anything
Yeah,
that had
it
to do with
is.
the mother boxes is pretty much related to Cyborg because he's like made of mother box. And before, like I remember in the beginning when people were like complaining about Justice League like just coming out back in 2017, like Zack Snyder was saying like, oh, Cyborg was the heart of my film, everything is about Cyborg. And after seeing Justice League, I was like where, like what do you mean? Like there's no way, like Cyborg is just a like who I don't like the cyborg. Like he's like a moody little kid, and like I just want to see him say like "booyah." But like, but then actually seeing what Zack Snyder meant, like Cyborg easily became like one of my favorite members in this film, and then actually seeing him like go through like his experience with how he like becomes Cyborg and his relationship with his father, like just made me really respect and love his character.
Yeah,
A
him
lot.
and
Yeah.
him and the Flash felt more useful in this movie than the last movie.
Yes,
I don't even
agree.
remember what was the purpose of Flash in the last movie, to be honest. But
There
this
was-
movie-
Oh, yeah. And this was another thing. So they added in that whole side element of the family in the town. Remember that from
Awful.
the Justice League?
Yes.
Where Flash was basically just rescuing these people who were like gonna be collateral damage for
And like,
Steppenwolf.
why were they even in this like radioactive
yeah, that's
Chernobyl
true. I
abandoned
forgot
city
about
anyways?
that.
Like
That
it
was
doesn't
so
make sense
random.
that they were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine why they would cut out that Flash scene though. It's like it's unbelievable to me because
Again,
that's like one of
yeah.
my favorite scenes from the entire movie.
And we're talking about him reversing back
Reversing time, yeah.
He's
Yes,
using
that's
the
the best
time
part.
force.
after
That's
Steppenwolf and Darkseid wins.
Yeah.
that's Joss Whedon again. Like I said, cutting out one of the more complex concepts from the DC universe is like how Barry uses the time force to be fast. Because remember, like even in the Justice League, when like Bruce Wayne is like, "You're fast," and then Barry's like, "That sounds like an oversimplification." Like
Yeah.
back then, I was like, even I was confused because like they didn't really like touch
Play
on
off
the
of
time
it,
force.
yeah.
It just that line didn't hit back then.
Mm.
But hearing it this time, after we already have seen Barry use the time force to save Iris West,
Speed
it
Force.
hits like so much because I'm like, this is the speed force. He's
Yeah.
using the speed force. He's not physically fast. He's like using the metaphysical, like
Yeah. I mean, when you get into the
Speed
comics,
Force.
there are actually different forces
yeah.
other than the Speed Force, but you don't even need to know that, to be honest. You just know that Flash has that ability because of the setup in the movie, and they do it
Yeah,
well.
and they do a brilliant job setting up all of these things. Even the picture, like in the Joss Whedon version, like when they're reviving Superman and his picture of his dad falls into the pool, it kind of just felt cheesy in that movie because it's like, what is
Who
the point
cares?
of this?
Okay.
Yeah.
But then here, and then somebody pointed out, like here, it makes sense because it goes to show like when Barry is reversing time, the picture starts to go back up.
I
And
got chills. That's
exactly.
a brilliant scene.
Exactly.
such a
And
good
so
scene.
there's a point to all of this.
Okay, here's a big complaint about the original Justice League movie,
Just
2017.
trashing the original right now.
I could not stand this. Like while watching this, I was so happy that they removed it. But like in the
I know what
2017
you're talking
version,
about.
when
I think so too.
when Clark was like, "Do you bleed?" or whatever, right?
Oh,
Oh,
I was like,
cheesy.
how could he say that? It indicates that he knows what he's doing. It indicates that he knows and remembers
Oh,
who
yeah.
Bruce
Yeah,
Wayne
I
is,
forgot about
and
that.
he's still
Yeah.
trying to kill them all. So it's like unbelievably ridiculous in the story, but in this one, it actually makes sense where he doesn't know who he is, and
Yeah.
he just sees the
Confused.
people attacking him, so he's like going on a rampage, and it makes way more sense. The story was just so much more cohesive in this movie, and
yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad they
Yeah.
took out the part where it's like, your mother's name is Martha.
That was inside the Batman v Superman.
Oh, shoot. I'm mixing it up now. It's been so long.
Yeah,
I
feel
don't
bad.
remember
That part is
one
still
either.
technically canon for the extended universe.
Still technically
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to
Really?
read off a few
Unfortunately.
comments, Anime 2021 said Batman v Superman confused a lot of people, so they thought that simplifying the plot in this movie would, make it less hated by critics. I
That movie was
suppose,
chopped up a lot too. It had
yeah, I
a lot
suppose
of
that's
flaws
a
because of editing.
fair worry, but yeah, I just feel
Yeah.
like the plot of Batman v Superman was just overall weaker.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely
Yeah.
agree with that.
I mean, really quick, because we were talking about Barry Allen. Barry Allen is like just leagues more likable in this film than in the Justice League because we're talking about things that were cut out. There's this awful like scene where where they're like saving the hostages from Steppenwolf when he's like interrogating them where the mother boxes are.
Yeah.
I think before they go into to save them all, like Barry has this weird panic attack where he's just like I don't do battle, and he just sounds so like weak, like he sounds just dumb. And then like that's when Batman's just having to tell him like just save one person.
Oh my god.
That's the worst dialogue, and I forgot about it. And like literally just before this, I was like, I know I'm blocking that whole scene out for a reason, and because I didn't even remember there were hostages.
Me
That
too.
whole scene,
I
that whole
totally
scene
forgot
took me
until
by
now.
surprise because I was blocking parts of it out. It was so bad, and like watching that scene again with Barry's dialogue with Bruce, I cringed. It was so bad because Barry was so unlikable and like weak-spined, and like he just really had no point in that movie
He
except
was honestly
for
comedic relief.
he was there to like take hostages out of situations one person at a time with his super speed, and that's just I take that as a personal affront because they just totally simplified his character in the worst way.
You know what's fun? I was gonna
Yeah.
say, you know what's funny? I actually found, even though Joss Whedon one's supposed to be more lighthearted, I actually found this movie more funnier than the Joss Whedon one.
It is because it makes more sense though. Because
It's smarter comedy too.
yeah, it matches the comedy. Like in the Joss Whedon version, after like Batman gets knocked back by Superman, he's like, "Oh, something's broken," and that's like not a Batman thing to say.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like
It's broken.
he adds a joke in, but it's with a character who wouldn't say that joke, so it just feels weird when you're
Yeah, out of
watching
character.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's
As
that
opposed to
awful
this.
after credits scene where it's like the race between Superman and Barry Allen. And
Yeah,
it's like
I
we've
didn't
established
like
in this one where they're like different types of fast, you know.
Oh, yeah,
Superman's
that's an-
physically fast, and Barry Allen uses the Speed Force.
Yes, exactly. And then even with Wonder Woman, they showed her speed, which I don't remember in that first fight scene. She was going super fast in the Joss Whedon
It
one.
was slow mo in the Joss Whedon version. It was
I
slow mo.
mean,
Are you
this
saying
movie
there
had
was
a lot
less? There
No,
was
there
more
was- there's a
slow
lot
mo
more-
in the
there's a lot more
Justice
slow.
League?
No,
There
there's
was
a
a lot of
Oh,
slow-mo.
slow-mo. There's a lot of slow
Okay.
in this movie.
No,
but-
Maybe-
I'm saying for that Wonder Woman fight scene, that one wasn't that slow mo in the
original?
Joss Whedon. Yeah.
There was still
Okay.
some slow-mo scenes.
It was still slow mo.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying like the parts where she's going like super fast were not super fast.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe.
Because I'm
That's
talking
what I'm
about that part where she's
Are you
trying
talking
to
about the hostages?
the
Yeah.
hostage being, because
Where she's blocking the bullets?
Bullets.
yeah. It was faster this one. Like you can actually
Yeah.
see it going super fast and everything, and it would work. And I don't remember that in the Josh Whedon
It
one
wasn't in there.
because I feel like it was cut off. Like all I remember the Josh Whedon one was like she had
It was-
to save the stop the bomb real quick, and that was it.
It was
It was
hard 'cause
fast.
Yeah.
Then and also another thing is that I didn't realize going in that this was going to be rated R. And it's a rated R movie. They're having like blood splatters on the
Yeah,
wall as
man.
Wonder Woman is knocking them back.
Yeah, Cyborg said that F word.
Well,
And
not just
Batman.
Cyborg.
And Batman too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she straight up killed everyone in Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Thank God.
Um,
I'm glad it was rated R.
but even that, like I was just having more fun. Like even
Yeah.
with the scenes that were similar, like the Themyscira scene at the very beginning, I was just like,
Yeah.
this feels way more fun.
It
And
hit
felt
different,
like,
honestly.
yeah.
I
it
have
felt
to
like the
say
same
though, I
scene.
didn't like the Mascara like part. I know the story needed it, but it still felt very cringy to me.
Mm.
Yeah, it was just everything with the Amazons. A lot of the dialogue just felt really corny and cringy, but I know that the story needed it in order for it to progress.
To progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's other good parts with the Amazons at least. Like I think it was cool seeing the first battle with Darkseid, with the
Yes.
old gods,
Oh
the
my
humans,
That
and then
that one was good.
the one Green Lantern of Earth, and then even anime said there was that cool part where like Darkseid goes to grab the ring, but it just like flies away to like probably whoever the next Green Lantern was gonna be.
Yes.
And like seeing even like little stuff like that, like the ring
Yeah.
flying away, like Zack Snyder knows, like, you know, the next lantern's about to be like born and like adorned with like that ring somewhere in a different planet or something.
Mhm.
Like just seeing like little stuff like that in the middle of battle, seeing the old gods, right? It was like Zeus and all of them.
man.
Yeah.
That was a really cool scene because also that introduced the anti-life equation, which is something again like that's for the fans. That is like a big
Yes.
thing with Darkseid and
Exactly.
how he uses like his evil forces and all that.
I think it
Exactly.
answered a lot of questions that the Justice League did not answer,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
because that one
Definitely.
left a lot of plot holes.
Oh man, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Kyle? What about you?
Yeah.
I was curious about the whole dark side thing because I'm not super knowledgeable, but
Mhm.
from what I heard, the original Justice League was, or at least from what you guys are saying, Darkseid wasn't involved. It was just Steppenwolf came and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
bad guy, wants the power, right?
It
Basically.
was
they-
implied that
yeah.
that Darkseid was coming, but that was never
I
said
think they name
out
dropped
loud.
him. I think they name dropped him once.
Yeah, they name dropped him.
Then everybody's like, who's
Yeah.
Darkseid?
So is the motive different now that Darkseid is involved? Because from what I remember, it kind of seemed like the same story. It's like instead of Steppenwolf now, it's Darkseid is the bigger bad guy who wants the power of the mother boxes. But
Yeah.
was there a specific motive, or maybe something that was like
In-
referenced in a previous movie that I missed? Because
In the 2017 movie version, Steppenwolf just wanted to do whatever he wanted to do for no real good reason. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, I want the mother boxes, want to take over the world, I guess.
Yeah.
And-
And this one, he's trying to gain back like the trust of Steppenwolf after apparently betraying him or
Darkseid.
something.
Darkseid.
Or,
Yeah.
sorry, what did
So,
I say?
you said
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf.
Whoops.
Yeah, redemption. He basically wants redemption, so
Yeah.
he feels just way more empathetic as a character
Yeah.
versus the other one, which feels like completely flat, two-dimensional, like completely unrealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also showing like that Darkseid has a personal connection with Earth and wanting to like F it up again because that's where he like first lost battle. And then also he like the anti-life equation is still there.
Yeah.
That kind of makes like Darkseid a more formidable foe
Mhm.
formidable foe. And he's like stronger now too. They showed like he was kind of weak when he first invaded Earth, and now he's like kind of like a bigger force with like a huge army on Apocalypse.
Yeah, he got schooled
Ready
by
the
Ares.
armadas.
Not to mention they tease those Omega beams, which I love. So.
Yeah.
Yes,
they
the
showed the Omega
squiggly
beams.
Omega,
Omega
beams.
beams.
Classic, like classic DC comic
They
book
got it.
art.
They tease me,
Perfectly.
man.
Oh man. But even with what was I gonna say? The mother boxes and how they tied it to the death of Superman basically awakens the mother boxes, and that's what calls Steppenwolf. Whereas before, I don't know if
Hold up, let's see.
Like-
Okay, never mind. You're good.
okay, it seemed like Steppenwolf just came randomly to Earth.
Yeah.
Anime said that Steppenwolf, his motivation was to get the mother boxes because he thought it was his mom.
What the? Oh, okay, okay. Okay.
You
thought
know
that
what?
was
I don't
actually
remember
thought
that, but I trust you, anime. And then he wanted the Amazonians to love him. I
I
it
love
sounds
this
ridiculous,
troll, man.
but
I wouldn't put
maybe.
it past.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah.
I mean,
That-
honestly, I don't know why. And like what I was mentioning before is like they decided to remove all of these brilliant story points and these brilliant character moments, but they also added in a bunch of nonsense in the Justice League.
Justice League.
And where it's like why do we need this random family for Flash to save them instead of having Flash literally run through time
And save the world.
and save the world. And then
I think
even
he-
Cyborg's moment of trying to separate the mother boxes, and he's in that trance and he sees
Yeah.
the mother boxes personified as first himself with his family, and then like the three witches or the three fates, whatever, if you want to go with Shakespeare or Greek mythology. It's brilliant stuff, and I don't understand the decision making of removing that
Mhm.
so that he could just have this like, so Superman could have this like nonsense, just jokey quipping, playing with Steppenwolf. Like I was remembering back to that scene before, and just how goofy it was. It just didn't make sense. But then now,
Wait, did they cut out his ice breath in Justice League?
I'm pretty sure they did. I don't
Yeah,
remember
that sucks because that's like a really cool Superman power.
Yeah,
that I
was-
think like why would you cut that out? I feel like that's one of the things where Joss Whedon was like, oh, that's weird. I don't like that.
He
And it's
might
like,
have used it.
that's-
I'm not sure, but
I don't remember that.
I
That
don't
was such
remember.
a cool. That was a cool scene to me because just him breaking the axe. I was like, that's
yeah.
Yeah.
OP.
I mean,
I like that.
even the fighting beats were just way better in this movie.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like the
I
choreography
think they
and everything.
really like delved deeper into the characters, like how OC was saying that like Cyborg was able to see like his family personified with the through the mother boxes, and Barry too, how he played a smaller role in Justice League, but I feel like in this film he was portrayed like you got to see his backstory, his motivation too,
Hmm.
like his dad and how he helps out the team. I feel like they really just wanted to show each character's story and how it developed throughout this movie and how they changed.
Yeah, there was
Yeah, that
more.
Flash. Was it? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say there was way more tension in that last fight too, like building
Mm-hmm.
up to it.
Much more was on the line.
How Flash was like
Yeah.
continuously running and he couldn't keep it up and he got shot and you can
Got
actually
He
injured.
tried to heal
see.
himself.
Yeah,
That
you
was
can
kind
see
of
that he was bleeding and whatnot.
anxious during
Yeah.
that part. Yeah. And that's it's good that that stuff was in there, and like I feel like that's necessary because there's still, and this is happening, going to be the Flash movie project, right? Cyborg's also going to be in that one, and I feel like now I'm actually kind of excited to see that now because
I don't
they've
know if,
established the Time
I mean,
Force.
that was like
think
news for a
they
while back, so it might
yeah,
have
I think they
changed.
removed Cyborg from that actually.
No.
But that was a while. That was also old news. So honestly, best case scenario that might come out of this movie is that they bring Cyborg back because I don't know if you guys have been following like the actor of Cyborg Ray Fisher is kind of annoyed with Warner Brothers and Joss Whedon over how they basically cut his entire character out of the movie.
His
And
character's so dope. I can't believe they did that.
yeah, and then like they basically after that they were like cutting him out of the Flash movie.
That's the
So
biggest
God.
loss. That's the biggest loss for me. And I feel truly bad for Ray Fisher because I don't know if you were going to go into like the background with the stuff that was happening behind the scenes.
Oh,
Do you
go
know
for
anything
it.
about that? It was just, I think Ray Fisher was saying that Joss Whedon was being like a toxic director and that he made the whole like kind of atmosphere of that project and that set just like not a like nice place to be in.
Mhm.
And then I think he was basically like blacklisted after that, which sucks, obviously, for any actor. And it's like we had like the Me Too movement going on. You know, you want to believe that people will, you know, protect these like actors who are basically like, employees under the director and all that in the studio. But at least I mean I know there's like other stuff coming out about Joss Whedon, so at least maybe there's some validation for Ray Fisher now, and like now people get to see Snyder Cut and see how much of a star he is because I think he's a
Yeah.
star. I really love Ray Fisher. He did a good job, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's like justice for him too, besides Zack Snyder.
I
Yeah.
agree. Especially
Gadot.
when oh sorry, go ahead.
I was saying Gal Gadot had some similar complaints about how he was acting as far as like forcing her to do scenes that she wasn't comfortable doing.
Yeah,
that
I
kind
can
of like
totally see that.
sexualized, over sexualized.
Yeah,
Wonder
they
Woman.
did.
Oh,
Like,
like
there
where
was-
Barry, like how Andrew said in the comments, like when Barry Allen like falls on her ass. in
Yeah.
the
Something like
Justice League.
that. Yeah, I
that
remember
part's
that.
not in this, thank God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that. I was
Yeah.
so cringy.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to this, so this is very interesting because I was after watching this movie, I kind of felt that like part of me feels like although I really enjoy this movie and I think it has the and deserves the credit that we are saying, part of me kind of feels though because of the aftermath with Justice League and then like all the other movies like Wonder Woman and even Aquaman, I felt like this movie works even better because like as a movie, if say it did came out within that time period, I'd been a little more upset that I didn't feel much about Aquaman's backstory as much, or even a little bit about Wonder Woman. We had Wonder Woman, but Aquaman himself, I didn't feel like they didn't delve into that story much. But after seeing Aquaman, I'm okay not knowing much of his backstory because like that movie's already out. So the fact
That
that, they
came
did focus,
after. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it came after, but in this timeline, it came stuff. So point is, I feel more like glad that we got to delve into more characters that we don't see their movies like Cyborg and Flash, that they had more of the spotlight compared to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Aquaman and the others.
Flash movie is still greenlit. That's still happening. And I
Flash
remember
movie is
they
still happening.
they approved, if not Cyborg, at least they have like a Supergirl. Kind of weird, but they
Oh yeah,
approved-
that was a piece
they
of news.
yeah, they said that Sasha Kaye, I might be getting that wrong, but this really dope Latina actress is confirmed to be Kara Zor-El or Supergirl in the
Oh.
Flash movie. I don't know how that's gonna work, but maybe we can go into like the future of the DC movies later.
Is it
I
going to
have
be like
thoughts
an
on that.
alternate timeline?
Maybe they'll do
There
like
are
52
different ways that
Earths.
they can do it. They've actually been there have actually been theories about Supergirl being in the background since Man of Steel. But we can get into that later.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
As
Yeah.
as someone who only watched the newest version, Kyle, like what did you think overall? Like, since you haven't really spoken on the spoiler-ish review part of it.
Overall, like just the movie.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
guess
like
my
it's
review would
okay
be.
if you don't agree with us on all our points, because like it's hard to agree with us when you didn't watch the original movie.
Yeah, well, honestly, my cousin was kind of one person that was advocating for me not to watch the original Justice League, because when we were getting ready to watch this, he's like, "Dude, don't even watch the original one because it's like terrible." So I feel like I'm kind of benefited from that by not having like a reference point that was like in a negative light, you know. So I came into this with kind of fresh eyes, and I mean, I really enjoyed it. Like I told you guys before, I was really surprised by how much I was kind of hooked by it. But I mean, in terms of like specific plot points, I think obviously the Flash scene was really dope. Like I'm glad to hear that these characters, Flash and Cyborg, who weren't really fleshed out, kind of had a moment in this version of the film to like shine, and Cyborg was dope too. Like as a character as a whole, he was like, I was like, oh, this dude's like OP. Like he can hack into everything, and like he's doing everything. He's the reason they're able to even like stand a chance in this
when
fight.
his dad died, I was like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, it's all like a very more, much more comprehensive arc for these characters. So I mean, that's good to know, and it shows, because it's in my eyes, being someone who hasn't seen all the DC movies, like it's still a pretty good movie. Like it's not perfect, obviously, and I'm not the biggest fan of the DC kind of vibe that we get with a lot of the movies, but I am kind of a fan of Zack Snyder, and I did think this movie was like perfectly fine and enjoyable, especially if you're a fan. But even if you're not, it's worth a watch. And it's got good action, good pacing, and yeah, apparently it's a lot better than the original cut.
You should watch the original just to compare now.
I don't think I am. Especially
don't
after
have to.
everything you guys are saying, I'm like, I think if anything, I'll watch Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, but I don't think I'm gonna watch the original Justice League.
Snyder Cut, it's cool, like you said, because if you're a fan of Zack Snyder, because it is a Snyder film, it's very like in his style, very stylized. With the music choice too is like really different from the first movie. I think in the first movie, Aquaman's like jumping off the dock to like Icky Thump. And then in this one, it's like a really slow song. And it's like, okay, like it feels a little heavier this time instead of just like Icky Thump and then like he's like jumping in action.
But yeah, Kyle does bring up a good point. Were there any negatives in the movie as far as things that maybe didn't work so well? We've been singing its praises pretty consistently up till now, but I think for me there were some
it looks like Kyle has something to say.
Sorry, no, go ahead, OC. I'll get after you. Go ahead.
I was just gonna mention something small. I think that for me there were some CGI moments with Diana in the caves. It was kind of like jarring. It didn't really fit very well. So I don't necessarily know the decision behind that, because there were other moments where the CG was great, but then there were some times when it was like not so good. I might think of some other ones later, but
I got some few, but I'll let Kyle go first.
Yeah, I got a few.
I just real quick, just a stupid one. I really don't like at all. I fucking hate the Justice League like theme that plays whenever they get into a fight. It's so like off-putting to me. Like it's kind of like a hype song, but it's like just a bit much for me, and I kind of wish they didn't use it so much.
It plays
But that's
very
just-
often.
One
Yeah.
of my few complaints.
Which one
That's
is
a-
is that one?
Yeah, which one? I don't know which one you're talking
Is
about.
it the
You sing it.
It's like da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
No,
Oh,
I think that's the Wonder
Woman's-
Woman.
That's
That's
Wonder
Wonder
Woman's
Woman's song.
Okay,
theme.
I was wondering.
That's Hans
Okay,
Zimmer
so
and
basically-
Junkie XL on the strings.
Yeah, basically every single time Wonder Woman's on screen,
Yeah.
you hear that song, and I'm like, dude, give it a rest. Like,
I like that
song
one.
Hey, they remixed it in this
I
movie.
like that
Before it was a
one.
little bit different than the original one, but this one they remixed it. So I like
But
the
it's-
remix.
It's interesting you brought up sound because that's a big gripe that a lot of people have with the film is just how obvious the score can be sometimes where it starts playing and like, oh, something's bad's gonna happen, or like, oh, things are about to get hyped, because it's like they're just kind of like they replay it over and over for like a lot of parts where it does get a little bit like droning, and it's like, okay, like let us just play the scene out and let us experience it without like crazy music all the time. And I
Yeah.
feel like I can kind of get behind that. It might have been excessive in some points.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, as far as my points, I have like 3 ones that stood out to me. Number one, I'm still not liking that Lex Luthor is Jesse Eisenberg. I'm not sold on that whatsoever. I don't care that he's bald. He's not the strong business CEO man, Lex Luthor that I love, right?
Luckily, he was
Yeah.
only in the epilogue, and we can talk about the epilogue after.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I have-
You want me to talk epilogue? Never mind, because I had another complaint with the epilogue. So
I have thoughts about the future of DC that are like
Mhm.
kind of
Okay.
negative.
I mean, go ahead. Just state your negatives.
Yeah. go
okay.
for
The
it.
other negative is I'm still not sold on Joker. Like, even though
Yeah.
it was
Oh my
decent,
God.
but same part of me was just like, I feel like he's just like, I can tell that the writing for Joker is better than the performance in my eyes.
Jared Leto's not a bad actor too. It just he sucks as Joker. He's the
Yeah.
biggest miscast of all time for me. It
Yeah.
never hits when he has any Joker dialogue, and like I don't know, he just takes me out of it too. Also, I don't think he's the greatest. But I mean, this is the epilogue. You could stop
Yes.
watching the movie where it
Yeah,
ends, and then
that's true.
still,
You could stop.
it's a beautiful one-off experience.
Yeah.
Which is the way I like to think about it, because the way that Zack Snyder is going with things, it's pretty obvious that he's trying to do like Injustice Superman. And
Mm.
like, I've never been a huge fan of like evil Superman. I think it's kind of, like an overused trope of like, oh, taking the OP character and it's like, oh, like push them over the edge and they turn evil. And it's like, that's a huge miscredit to like his like upbringing and his parents, I think, and his own self-control. Like we kind of already went over this with like Man of
love
Steel,
it.
I think.
Yeah.
I love Injustice. I'm sorry. I have to
Okay.
completely disagree. I
No,
love
that's where we
Injustice.
disagree.
Yeah.
I just don't like the direction that they're going with it personally. I think Zack Snyder said that he was gonna have like Lois and Clark have a child, and like
They did.
it was gonna
Okay.
be
They basically
Yeah.
said it.
Zack Snyder said it was
Okay,
going to
they
be
hinted.
a Bruce Kent, and that he was going to
Yeah.
take over Batman's
Yeah.
role.
Well, she
like,
had
he
Oh,
was
she
no,
had
no,
like the
no.
pregnancy.
I think
Yeah.
in this
sticks
movie,
instead.
it's Clark's kid. for
Okay, it's
sure.
Clark Kent. So okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, they were going to name him Bruce, and that he was going to take over the mantle as Batman without any powers. This child was not going to have powers, and he was going
That's
to be
weird.
like,
Okay.
yeah, that's weird, right? Like,
Well,
I'm kind of glad that's not happening.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I guess my other point, and that isn't on the epilogue. I mean, this is just like Snyder stuff. Sometimes the slow mo can just get,
It's a
Mm.
a
lot.
little bit kind of like, we could speed this
Yeah.
up.
Like,
take
yeah,
it
we've seen
forever.
300 enough
Stuff
of
like
this.
that. And then I also felt, although I love the scene where Barry saves the girl, part of me was just like, is that girl stupid not seeing the freaking truck coming in the way?
You mean Iris?
She was smitten. She was smitten by Barry.
I mean, sure,
And the
I
light.
guess.
It's
Come
Iris.
on, eyes
That
on the
truck driver
road.
sucked. He was eating a sandwich and then
Even
trying
then,
to get his
it's
sandwich.
just, like, I get what they're trying to do, but it just
Yeah,
it took me a
yeah.
little bit out of it at times.
But that was
You
a
know
cool.
what was
That was a
funny?
cool moment of like
it's a cool
super
moment.
speed.
Yeah,
Not-
it's a good
of
way to
the
introduce.
super speed and like the glass and all that.
He
That was-
grabbed a hot dog like while she was in the air.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And it was pretty funny because my boyfriend was like, "How come none of the hot dogs are slapping her face right now?"
because it's not a Josh Whedon movie. We know why.
Yeah.
But to your points, Chuku, those are the same gripes that I had. Honestly, there was a lot of slow motion in this cut, but it wasn't that bad.
He makes it off with cinematography. See, that's the thing. That's
Yeah.
his style. So it's like, even though it's slow mo, it has this nice cinematography where you see the wind blowing and you see the image in the background and you see all that.
Yeah.
So it balances, but sometimes it gets
Like the slow mo fight between Flash and Superman, I thought that was actually pretty dope.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an epic moment though, because it's like you see him like seeing Barry as he's
Yeah,
moving
like
through
his
the
Yeah, I
Time
eyes
mean,
Force.
move.
That's pretty cool. But yeah, I think slow-mo and like sepia filters are to Zack Snyder what like lens flares are to J.J. Abrams. Maybe that's just like his
Yeah.
thing,
His
and
thing.
it's annoying, and people are gonna gripe about it. But it's like, I mean, that's their signature, I guess.
That's if you know if you like Snyder, then you know what you're getting into. That's
It's
just
a
the best way
Snyder
to look
film.
at
It is a
So,
Snyder film through and through.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, again, I guess I mean most it's a competent movie, and then again, I'm a DC fan, so of course I'm gonna love a lot of things, like the fact that Martian Manhunter was secretly
Oh yeah.
Mark's mom in that
I
scene.
don't like how he didn't have an accent.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I
love
didn't
it.
like? That Amber Heard had an accent, and every time she spoke, I just like, what
Yeah,
are you
Yeah,
saying? Even though I know what you're saying is just throwing me
Yeah.
off.
That definitely pulled me out. I'm like, why is she talking like this right
no,
now?
I watched Aquaman and I forgot she had an accent.
She
Yeah,
doesn't
Unless-
have an accent in Aquaman.
Oh, what
Wait.
the heck?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
just in this
that's
movie.
bad. That's
What?
bad.
That's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, I did want to bring up the scene where Wonder Woman is saving the hostages
Yeah.
in the bank, I think,
Yeah,
and she beats up all the dudes, blocks all the bullets,
yeah.
and then when the dude's reloading, she just explodes the entire building, and I'm like, dude, did she just kill everybody in there? Like, why was that necessary? You couldn't just
Yeah.
run up and punch the
She
dude.
she has good aim.
It just seemed
Very
like
good average. She's
excessive.
precise.
I was like, oh my god, like relax.
Yeah.
It's just one guy.
And when the girl was just like, "Can I be like you someday?" I get it, but it was still very corny to me.
I know
I
that
mean,
happens in
watch-
almost every Wonder Woman scene.
But it was a better moment than the black
Wonder Woman
girl
2.
in Wonder Woman 84.
Yes, exactly. After watching Wonder Woman 84, I was like,
It was
I'd
like-
rather have this girl than that one black
Yeah.
girl. It's like,
It's like, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, are they trying to allude to Wonder Girl or something?
I was thinking, I was like, is this going to be Donna Troy? Like, maybe, but I mean, we'll never know.
Yeah. Speaking of obscure characters, they had Ryan Troy, was it?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
would be the
As
Atom.
The Atom, which is pretty interesting.
They did hint
Like
at
the
that.
DC
Yeah.
equivalent of Ant-Man. He can
Basically.
change his size.
Basically, yeah.
But it's a cool classic character for DC fans. Is there any other cameos we're not thinking of?
I mean, I guess you can say Deathstroke, but
yeah,
I think that was
Deathstroke.
obvious.
Yeah, that's
I don't know. So the epilogue scenes, I personally like the idea of having an epilogue as opposed to end credit scenes, because it kind of like they serve the same function, but I think it's just done better. You don't have to wait for the credits, because I feel like that trope is played out at this point.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't know if anybody else is going to do the epilogue thing. So but that scene of Lex Luthor with Deathstroke, it felt like it didn't necessarily,
it didn't hit.
it didn't need to be there, because we know technically that Batman movie, we're probably not ever going to get it, of Deathstroke with Ben Affleck's Batman. We're probably not ever going to get that movie. So
Yeah, unfortunate.
unfortunately, it feels like it might have just been better to keep that out. Sad to say as it is,
I
but
feel like Zack Snyder is gonna try to like rally, because he's got away with it once. We have the Snyder cut. I feel like this is gonna be like grounds for people to rally around Zack Snyder again, which is like
Right.
neither here nor there. I mean, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of like the direction that things were going, but
yeah. But we'll see. I think that the other I liked the nightmare sequence with Joker. I don't necessarily care too much for Jared Leto's acting, but I think that the stuff that was in that scene was enough to balance it out for me. Because like they did the whole like the death of
Lois
Jason
Lane,
Todd.
yeah.
That they revealed the whole death of Jason Todd in that scene. And yeah, Lois Lane dying. I love the Injustice storyline. So, and they also basically with the whole how many timelines do you have to do? So it basically is implying that that version of Batman is using Flash to kind of redo time so that they can avoid this end of the world sequence like over and over again, and he keeps doing it until basically evil Superman finds him, and he's trying to figure out the way to like avoid this timeline, the darkest timeline, which every timeline
Which is a
is
community
dark.
reference.
Right. So I think it's pretty fun. I hope we can see something from it, but other than that, I liked that scene for that reason.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other epilogue scene that we haven't talked about.
I
Martian
I think
Manhunter
that-
saying hi to Batman.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
Hi.
to
Martian
skinny,
Manhunter
to
saying
skinny
hi.
Ben Affleck.
That's whatever, I feel
Yeah,
like.
there wasn't much to it.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts, guys?
Definitely watch this if you haven't. If you have seen the Justice League from Joss Whedon, watch this instead. If you like DC stuff, definitely watch this. If you're suspicious or neutral about DC stuff, definitely watch this.
just watch this
So
movie.
just watch this.
The only people like
You're
if you just don't
mistrusting
like
of it. Watch it.
if you don't like Justice League, then you might not like it. If you don't like the DC, basically, you might not like it. But otherwise,
Yeah.
you'll probably like it. You know.
Even if you're like a little curious about the characters but aren't a fan of this extended universe, watch the Justice League animated series.
Oh yeah.
I think it's on HBO Max,
Yeah.
or you can go back and watch the Batman animated series, Batman Beyond, Static Shock. I mean, they're all solid. So this is why I'm a fan.
All right, well, if that's it, then
Be sure to like and subscribe.
Let us know your
Bye.
thoughts in the comments too.
Definitely.
Love
yeah.
you all.
Put your
Thanks for
thoughts
staying